You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith. The interview subject I've got coming up for you is Stéphan Forté from French progressive metal maestros Adagio. He's also an accomplished solo artist, and the reason for the conversation with Stéphan is to promote Adagio's new album for 2017. It's a cracker. It's called Life. Let's have a listen to what he has to say. Here we go. Adagio will be releasing the new album Life on July 26th. Darkness Machine is a track from the new album and it is available via YouTube. So tell the audience about that track, the video, and of course the new album.
So that track, this album, as you might have heard by yourself, is pretty complex. It's a real progressive album, in the sense that it's kind of a big concept album, even though it's not a concept album in the sense where all the songs are linked musically one after the other one. It's just like more of a concept album in terms of story and concept. Basically, the idea was to I really wanted to do kind of like, it's very ambitious and maybe some people would think presumptuous, but I don't really care, to be honest. The idea was I wanted to illustrate life, at least what I thought it was, my life and life of the other, of everyone. Into music, and so I wrote this album just like if it was a movie. I was trying to. The goal is to just plunge people into a trip into life. So from day one to what might be last day and everything in between. So each song represents something that is part of life. Like, for example, love with tripping away, or depression and solitude with Secluded Within Myself.
Sure. Yep.
Which is a theme I've already talked about. The second Adagio album, Underworld, I wrote in a very difficult period of my life, and I really needed to do a kind of introspection and go and touch those feelings, even though it was really hurtful, touch those feelings as accurately as I could. And so this whole album, Underworld, is based on this, and this song could have been part of Underworld. It's really kind of touching the lower parts of when you're feeling really down. So this song is about that. So Brahmania is kind of a bit different. It's more about it's a very belligerent song. It's about when you have to face a day-to-day enemy and adversity, and I'm just like, you don't just fight, you just crush like total annihilation of it, of the enemy and stuff. So it's about, let's say, in a more vast concept, it's about fighting, because life is a fight. Yep. In a way, so it might sound a bit cheesy, but that's what it is, I think.
No, that's fair enough.
And so the latter, on the more positive side, for example, is about everything when you're facing things that might seem impossible or far away, far from the reach, and there's always a way. It just depends on the way you see things and how you handle things. And I think a big part of this is everything depending on how you're thinking. It's like the glass half empty or full. It's the same thing. And I've had the opportunity to test that many times. And sure, you can see things in a very negative way or in a very positive way, and it really affects the consequences. So the latter is about this. Is about not giving up. Whether it is on something professional or on life itself. So it's a positive message. And the overall feeling of this album is very positive. All the previous albums were very dark and very dark. Sure. And this one is way more positive. The message is way more positive, even though it's not fun all the time and the music is quite dark in general, but the message is positive.
Yeah, I'm definitely picking up a broader cinematic vibe about you guys and about the music you create. It's very visual music. By that I mean that I'm going to bestow a compliment on both yourself and on the band, okay, in this point here, because the talent on offer when I listen to the advanced copy of Life is simply put outstanding. There is so much going on, like as though you're watching a cinematic piece, like a film, yet I don't feel overwhelmed. So can you tell me how you approach songwriting? Because what you've done is very difficult to achieve. Having all of these multiple moving parts, a lot going on, a lot of complexity, yet you can absorb it through the listen. It's not overwhelming like a lot of these tech death metal bands and the like that are out there at the moment, their music.
It's very different, I think.
Yep.
Kind of complexity. Well, the way I'm writing music, actually I'm writing everything from A to Z, the piano, the orchestrations, and everything. Because not because I'm a dictator, it's just because I have a very accurate idea of of my music, and so every note to me is important. So basically, the way I'm writing this, it depends. It could start with a riff or with a melody. It could be a vocal melody or a flute melody or whatever. And from that part, I'm starting with the intro, which is pretty rare. Normally, people are writing the whole structure and then arrange. My way of doing things is I'm starting with the intro in general. Let's say, for example, a riff. I have a cool riff. First thing I'm thinking about. Yeah, sorry.
Is that right? You actually start writing these songs with the intro in mind first, and you build it from there. So it's like kind of like writing a story.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing is so the first thing I'm deciding is the vibe of the song and the tempo. I'm deciding if it's going to be a fast song or it's going to be a mid-tempo or a slow song, and pretty much deciding on the vibe of the song. Then from that, I'm going through it with a riff, for example, or like I said, a melody. And then I'm finishing everything with the arrangements and everything before I'm moving on to the next part, rather than writing the whole song and then doing the arrangements. So for example, when I'm starting the song, I'm doing the intro and I'm doing all the orchestration at first, the solos if there are some, and everything. And then I'm moving on to the, let's say, bridge to the verse, and then to the verse, and then the pre-refrain, and then the chorus and stuff. But everything is already arranged when I'm finishing the part before I'm to the next one.
Okay, yep. And Kelly Sundown puts in an exceptional vocal performance on the album. So how important is the vocal to the sound of the band?
It's one of the most important things when you have a vocal band. When I started, guitar was my main focus because I'm a guitar player and I've always been influenced by guitar-oriented albums. I've been a big fan. I've always been a big fan of the Shrapnel era, and Jason Baker and Marty Friedman are my biggest influences.
Yeah, likewise.
So I was really into that when I started. And so everything was based on the guitar. And then maybe it's because I'm getting older and stuff, but of course, if there is vocals, that should be the main thing and the main instrument. So he has a big part, if not the most important part of the album. He's the most important element, I think, because he's the one who transcribe, who transmit the words and the real meaning of the songs, and helps the listener. He helps the music to be understood by the listener, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And you've already touched on this a little bit. You are a guitarist steeped in the neoclassical metal tradition of Yngwie Malmsteen, Timo Tolkki, and Luca Turilli. You're endorsed by Ibanez, and there are videos on YouTube of you sharing your fantastic technique. Tell us a little bit more about how you got into guitar playing and who continues to inspire you.
Was long ago. I started when I was 5. My elder brother offered me my first little acoustic guitar, classical guitar, and I've always grown up into that kind of hard rock environment, and he was listening to Led Zeppelin, Sabbath, AC/DC, and Maiden, and stuff like this. And so I grew up into this environment, and when I was when he was with his friend, and I was always there, and they were listening to AC/DC with a lot of volume, and I wanted to be, since I was 5, I wanted to be Angus Young. So that's why he offered me that guitar, and the first thing he taught me was a Alice Cooper song, "I'm 18."
Oh yeah.
And
Yep.
that was the first thing I've learned on guitar. And then AC/DC was Whole Lotta Rosie, and then he showed me the chords, and I never stopped since then. Then when I turned 12, 14, 12, I was really into my death metal period. I was listening to
Cool.
a lot of death metal, and that was my first. That's where I did my first shows and first bands.
Oh, good on you. Yeah. Who are you into in particular?
Well, those are old school bands now, but I was really into Morbid Angel, Death,
Sweet. Yep.
Entombed, Dismember, all those very iconic death metal bands from the 90s. But there was always this kind of shred and guitar element inside. I needed to express myself with solos, so those were death metal bands with shred, let's say. With shred as much as I could, because at that time I was very young and not really formed to play such way. Then at 14, I discovered Malmsteen. That was love at first sight, and that was pretty much when I knew I would do this as not a job, but I wanted to do this for my life.
Yeah.
It was when I discovered Ingve, and so from that moment on, I mean, school went down because I was spending so much time on my guitar. I was just skipping school to go in music shops and practice. To my parents' joy. They were not really happy about that. But anyway, so when I turned 18, I stopped going to school. They agreed. I had to make the promise I would do all I could to succeed and to work and work and work. So they've been really supportive, very supportive. I've been really very lucky to have parents that supportive.
Yeah, fantastic. Yep.
Yeah, that's really amazing. And so I stopped, and that's when I started to practice like 8-10 hours a day, every day. And that's for 2 years. Then I went to a big music school, kind of Berkeley, in France.
Yep.
Berkeley or MI, kind of related stuff. And then right after that, that's when I started to do my first compositions and stuff. It was a first demo, instrumental demo. With that, I had my first endorsements and first magazine reviews here in France. Then I had to open for Ingve, so I was like 20, and that's where it all started. Then
let's talk about that for a moment. So you opened for Ingve, and did you get to interact with him and have a chat to him?
Very quickly, yeah. But I mean, Ingve is Ingve, and at least the only thing I can say is I knew it was the real Ingve. Like from what you hear about him.
Yeah.
Well, I
gotcha.
I knew it was not a lookalike. It was him.
Yeah.
Well, I had my backstages, and to go to his backstages, he had to go through mine. And so I've read in an interview that he really liked wine, so I bought a great bottle of Bordeaux of red wine.
Sure. Yep.
And when he passed along after the show, I was like trembling, of course, and I was like very timid, and I was like, "Hey, Ingve, I just opened for you. It's a huge honor, and this is for you. I know you like wine. This is for you." And he was like, "Oh, thanks, I don't want it," and he left.
Jesus. Yeah.
But in a way, I remember that as a cool souvenir because that was the real Ingve, and that was cool in a way, and I was so proud and so nervous to open for him at that time that I still remember it like if it was yesterday. It was great.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy, isn't he? I've seen him twice in Australia, and I've never met him, but he tends to get other people.
I'm sure he's a cool guy. I'm sure he's a great guy. It's just like some days, you know how it is. Some days you're not maybe in the vibe of speaking with people
sure.
and stuff. So,
yeah.
But I'm sure he's a great guy.
Yep. So Let's talk about the album again. Are you releasing the album in a vinyl format or even cassette? And to that end, what do you think is the best medium for listening to the band's music? Because as we've already mentioned, it is very broad, it's very cinematic, and there's a lot going on.
Um, I would say FLAC, I mean, uncompressed format wave is the best because there are no compression and it's pure. So I would
Yes.
say on very high quality monitoring system
Yes.
and FLAC is the best, but not everyone can or will do that. Vinyl, I'm curious. I didn't hear the album on vinyl yet. We're gonna
Mm.
receive them soon.
Oh, so you are
Um,
releasing vinyl, are you?
yes, yeah,
Okay, I'm gonna have to get a copy of
yeah.
that. Just yeah, okay, no worries. Yeah,
I,
yeah. So
I will send you one.
oh,
No
it's very
problem.
kind of you, mate. Yeah, I look, I've yeah, no, I've it really impressed me that I was hoping you'd say vinyl as well. And now, I'm not one of those guys where I insist bands have to release vinyl, but to be completely honest, I think you're going to get that full immersive experience with a good vinyl on a really good player with some great
Mm.
speakers. With your
I've
music, it's the sort of thing that'll wrap itself around a room.
I've grown up with vinyls. I mean, when I was a kid, it was only vinyls and tapes, and of course CDs appeared, and then it changed the stuff. But when I was like in '88, I was really a kid, and all the albums around '86, '88 were on vinyls. And I remember the first album I bought with my own money when I was a kid was Somewhere in Time from Maiden in '86, and that was
Yes,
on vinyl.
that's a
And all
bloody good
those,
album. It's a good album to
yes,
start with. Yeah.
yeah, and all those albums and Justice for All for Metallica and stuff were on vinyl. So I really like the sound. I'm really attached to it, and even the sound of the needle when it starts, when you hear that kind of,
Yes.
it's part of it, and it's warm and yeah.
Yep.
So I don't know if it's objective. I don't know if it's by nostalgia that I like it, or if it's really about the sound.
Mm.
But still, for example, sometimes I don't know if you noticed that, but there is this kind of um, not trend, but on YouTube, some people upload the albums on vinyl so that you can hear the sound of vinyl. And recently, I've been listening to some old Aerosmith or Led Zeppelin to really have that kind of vinyl
Yes, the
vibe.
warmth. Yeah, the warmth and the
Yeah.
breadth of the music really comes through. Yeah, yeah, no doubt. Yeah,
Yes.
yep.
So
No,
that's
that's
yeah, I
yeah,
like it.
no, that's great. And your first purchased album certainly beats mine. You know what mine was? It was Poison's "Open Up and Say Ah" back in 1988.
Oh, you know what? That's really fun, like because that was my first tape, the first tape I
Well,
bought.
that was
This
my
album.
first tape too. So there you go. We got that in common.
Yeah, so we might be the same age. That's funny.
Yeah, I'm 39. Yeah, born in 78. I'm
Yeah,
39. So,
I'm born in '76, so
oh, there you
yeah.
go. There you go. So you are a band that have embraced social media as well, and your online presence is of a very high quality. Do you have fans all over the world, and whereabouts is the band planning on touring in support of the new album?
Well, just to give you some information about the band, so the last album has been released in 2009, so it's been quite a while.
Yep.
And I had to make a break. I had to make a pause because the direction we were going were not the real direction I wanted to go with the Adagio. And I've been bored with it, to be honest, because
Sure.
we signed with a big management, and they just wanted to turn us into something like Nightwish or
Uh huh.
or Epica or those kind of bands.
Sure.
And this is not what Adagio is about at all.
What, like
So we tried.
bring in a female vocal? Is that what they wanted to do?
No, this without just imagine Nightwish with a guy singing.
Okay. Sure. Yep. Got it.
So we tried because yeah, because we wanted to listen to
Well,
them because the
that's
bands
what you do, isn't it? You bring in these management companies to help your career,
yeah,
and you duly listen to them. But you've also got to honour your
yeah,
spirit, really, haven't you? And the reason you're creating music, which it sounds like you've done precisely that.
exactly. And so I tried. It took 3 years to demo and demo and demoing some more stuff in that direction. And yeah, I just got bored of it and I didn't want to hear about Adagio anymore. So I wanted to go back to real music, pure music, and something true. So I went back to my first love and recorded a solo album, which is called the Shadows Compendium.
Yes, saw that. Yep.
And I had some great guests on it, Marty Friedman and a lot of cool guests.
Outstanding. What was it like working with Marty?
We've known each other for quite a while now. We toured together as well for that album.
Cool.
Marty is a great guy. He's one of my biggest influence, and he's such a cool and funny person. I really like him. And
what period
it was great.
What period of Marty's career are you most influenced by? Because I too love Marty's playing, and I got into him, of course, through Megadeth. I think most of us did, but I went back and bought the Cacophony albums, which I thought were probably even better than some of his contribution on Megadeth.
Well, to be honest, my favorite Marty's thing is Megadeth. Is Rust in Peace. I think to me, all of the solos individually are masterpieces.
They are.
It's just the choices of notes and the way the interpretation and everything is just still today one of the most amazing thing I've heard in terms of soloing. It tells a story, and that's what I really like with people like Marty or Nuno Betancourt.
Oh yes, yes, excellent. Yep.
Every solo is a song in the song, and
yes,
that's really what I think is the most important. And some people tend to forget that, but soloing is also doing music. It's not just, even though I'm a huge fan of shred and sweeping and fast scales and stuff, I think it has to serve the melody and the music and to be melodic. That's the first thing, and then virtuosity need to help the music, and that's what I like with Marty and this album. All the solo I think are brilliant, and then of course Cacophony and his solo stuff.
So to that end, what did you think of Euthanasia?
To be honest, I was disappointed when I heard it.
It's a tough album, that one, and these are my own thoughts. So I understand that Dave Mustaine brought Max Norman in, and I've already read the copy that he slowed the fast songs down and he made the slower songs speed up because he thought that they'd get onto radio. I think that's the way the story goes. And I can really hear that. I could hear that before he mentioned it, that there are some songs like Family Tree and I Thought I Knew It All. Both of those songs I think would be much better, much faster. And they kind of corrected that on the album afterwards, Cryptic Writings, because I'm a massive Megadeth fan, right? But I just find I can't listen to Euthanasia anymore. It's just probably the only record in their whole catalogue, and that includes Risk, that I just can't go back to. So are you...
I might need to call you back because
You're right, no worries.
The sound is kind of weak right now.
You're right, no worries. Do you want me to give you a call back or you...
Let's try to keep on and let's see if it doesn't work. I'm calling you back.
No worries. All right, no worries. Am I coming through loud and clear at the moment?
Yeah, now it's cool.
So the point I was making earlier was that I basically find that I can't listen to Euthanasia anymore, which is a shame because I think there are some really good songs on there. There's some great solos on there. The production was never great.
Train of Consequences is a huge song. I really like the riffing and the harmonica solo and stuff. But this album it feels like it had to be commercial, and that's what I think we're losing all the aggressivity and stuff from what Megadeth really was.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed the songs that they released between Countdown to Extinction and Euthanasia as well. So there's 99 Ways to Die, Angry Again, Go to Hell. I wish they almost built an album off the back of the sound that they were mining through 1993. I think was probably the year. But anyway, that's only my opinion. We're both fans.
And I think we are not the only one to think this way, because so many people are fans of Rust in Peace and Countdown that I think many of us think the same.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Now, the tangent is Metallica, of course, and look, a lot of fans struggle to really get anything after 1991. And I've rediscovered Load, it's probably fair to say, but I find St. Anger unlistenable. The album that they released after St. Anger, sorry, I can't remember that one's name, the one that they released in 2008, Death Magnetic. I find that one unlistenable. And I did a review of the new album, and it's from the new album that I was able to go back. The new album's called Hardwired to Self-Destruct, of course. It's from that album that I was able to go back and make sense of Load. Finally, almost actually over 20 years. Was it over 20 years?
Okay.
Or 20 years later, I was able to go back and I was able to hear Load with new ears and go, now I think I understand it. It just...
And you like it?
Well, there are some songs on there that are pretty poor, it's got to be said. There are some songs on Reload that I think are some of the best they've ever written, though.
Okay, well.
Prince Charming, I think or Prince of Darkness. I can't... Sorry, my memory's not great with regards to individual songs because I haven't lived with those albums, you see, so I can't really name check all of the songs for the sake of our discussion. But, I have got back into Reload. I've got to tell you that. It was around about Christmas time. I did a review for the Metal Forge of the new album, and I thought the new album was okay. I'm one of those people that sort of thinks Lars has passed his prime, though, and probably needs to bring in a young guy like Chris Adler or Tim Young from Morbid Angel or I Am Morbid to do the parts, and Lars acts as a producer. Totally respect his commitment and or what he's contributed to metal over the years, but I just think his drumming's not there anymore, creatively or technically.
And I think he knows it. Of course he knows it. I'm sure of that. But they are at such level right now.
Yeah, and that was going to be my point, that they can almost do anything now, like the Lulu album. They're at a point, Metallica, where they could release a spoken word album of, whatever, or poetry, what do they call it? Jazz-inspired poetry or what have you, and it would sell. But, yeah, I do struggle with some of their material in the same way. But for me, the only real blip on Megadeth's radar was what they did with Euthanasia, and I'm not a big fan of Risk either. I understand that he tried to gain commercial acceptance there, but didn't really quite work out. But what do you think of Risk? Is that an album that you can listen to?
My problem is there are many bands for which I have an album which stops me from listening to what's coming next. Like for example, if we take Dream Theater. I really love Images and Words, Awake, and then there's been like the Change of Season EP, and after that was off for me because the sound was not the Dream Theater I liked. Maybe because Kevin Moore left, or I don't know, but the vibe was not there anymore, sure. And the solos were not as interesting as they were. Same thing with Queensryche. I'm a huge, probably my favorite album ever is Promised Land from Queensryche. That's
great album. Yeah,
that's my album. When I need to go back to myself and be alone, I'm just putting this album headphones and I'm off the world for a while. And right after that, I just couldn't. And that's the same problem I have with Metallica and Megadeth and all those bands. There is an album, and from there it stops for me. I don't have the vibe anymore.
Yeah, no, agree. So that's a really good point.
So for Megadeth, I would say, Euthanasia. Euthanasia was the last one, but for me the very, very last one was Rest in Peace.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I do love their early material, and I'm starting to see there's a band called is it Havoc, who sound a lot like what Dave was doing on Peace Cells. It's like
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, have you heard of that band before?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds good. It's great stuff. I've been waiting a long time for a band to do that. It's in Havoc to Megadeth what Trivium were to Metallica earlier on in their career. And I really enjoyed Trivium's music. I'm not such a big fan of their recent material, but right up to and including Shogun, I thought that they were producing very high quality, and I'm going to call it what I think it is, which is thrash metal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. You go.
No, I was like, thrash metal to me is more like, thrash to me is really Exodus and Slayer and or Forbidden or all those bands, Dark Angel, all those older bands which were already kind of Bay Area sounding and stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
And Trivium in a way, I think it's more modern. Uh, yeah, I wouldn't call it trash, but yeah, it's definitely a great metal band.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
album, The Crusade, I thought was the best album that I'd heard in years up to that point. Actually, that's going back to 2006 now. But I remember when it came out and people were bagging on them for creating Master of Puppets Part Two. But then I thought, hang on, isn't that what everybody wanted?
Yeah,
Everybody wanted an
indeed.
album with those sort of
Yeah.
riffs, and I couldn't. I think he was only about 19 or 20 or so, Matt Heafy, when he wrote that album. But anyway, it's stellar stuff. It's stellar stuff. I'll move on, and I've got three questions that I do ask all of the interview subjects. So I'd like you to humour me here and play along. And by the way, your answers can be as not safe for work as you like because we are an R-rated program here. So,
Hmm?
Stéphan, choose three words to describe yourself.
Oh. Uh, mm, you caught me off guard right now.
I tend to do that when I ask these questions.
Maybe too emotional. It's not one word, but it resumes the thing.
No, it can count as one
Just
word.
okay. Um, Determined, perfectionist. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it would.
definitely. I can
Yeah.
definitely. I haven't known you for long enough to account for the first point you made there, but certainly the second two there, I'll certainly agree with. There's no question about that.
I don't
Um,
know if emotional is the right word because I'm thinking in French right now, but by this I mean I'm really sensitive to things. Things touches me a lot, maybe too much.
sure.
That's what I mean.
Yep, yep. A lot of musicians are like that. As I say, I'm a bass player and a guitarist, but I'm far more of a bass player. And look, I think we've all got our sensitivities, and I think being in the workforce for so many years for me sort of beat it out of me, to be honest. So,
Yeah.
anyway, I digress. I'll move on. Next question: if you could go back to when you were 18 and give yourself some advice, what do you think you'd say?
Oh, many advices. um, be more disciplined in your work. Um, Focus more on the business side of things rather than just the music. But that those are things you cannot think when you're 18. That's the problem.
Yeah,
It
comes of
wouldn't,
age.
yeah, it wouldn't work because if I had said that to myself at that time, I would have said, "Go fuck yourself. I just want to shred."
Yeah,
So, but yeah, those are the things I would say. And uh, yeah, think more for yourself. Don't pollute yourself too much with the problems of others. Focus on what's good for you.
yep,
That's, yeah, I
yep.
think I could have said to myself many other things, but right now, as you ask me like this, that's what comes to my mind.
No, look, they're wise words and it's sage advice for anybody, really. And the thing is, I mean, I have to be honest with you. I get the data of where people are listening from all over the world when they listen to these podcasts, but I've got no idea the age or background of people. So, mate, there could be a young
Mm.
kid out there who's totally enamored with your playing, who's going to listen to that advice and is going to adopt it and take it on board. So that's why I think it's really good that you give that feedback.
Oh, so maybe one other thing, which is probably the most important, is that everything you need um, to be who you want, you already have, and we always try to look for excuses or reasons or ways or help, but I think our best friend is ourselves, and we tend to think we are our worst enemy. I mean, we are just both, but I think we are also the only person we can count on when needed, and that's
Sure.
probably the best advice uh, I can give, and that I gave to myself. I realized this, and I think that as long as you realize that you're your best friend, you can just go wherever and do whatever. And if you fail, you will always be here for yourself. You see what I mean?
Do.
It's
Yeah.
just like You're
Just
not
believe in
counting on
yourself.
someone else.
Yeah, believe in yourself, but you're a living example of that from the perspective that you do write all of the music yourself. You've got this passion, and you forged ahead with your career, and so far so good. It's been successful. You've already mentioned that. I mean, gosh, imagine if you went back to when you're 18 and said, look, you'd be playing before Yngwie Malmsteen, you'd be touring with Marty Friedman, and I'm sure there's a host of other musicians and artists that you've performed, played on albums alongside of and toured with that would blow your socks off if you could go back to when you're 18 and go, this is what you're going to be doing over the next 20 odd years, 20 to
Well,
25
I
years.
think, the two major things I wouldn't have believed would have been possible was to befriend and tour with Marty Friedman and befriend and played for Jason Baker. And those are the things I wouldn't have believed it. You would have said, you're going to play each year, you're going to go to Jason Baker and play with him and then play music for him and stuff, and you're going to become friends. I would have said, yeah, right, sure.
Yeah, fantastic, yeah.
Those are things, when you touch some of your dreams, it's something that just pushes you to go forward. And yeah, so there have been many highlights. I've been very lucky with many things. But so yeah, it just shows that life is beautiful, and dreams can come true sometimes.
Yes, we are all connected cosmically, but I think the way you get in touch with the force that guides you to where you need to be is by indulging in your passion, exactly like what you've done. And that's, you were never going to tour with Marty Friedman if you were working in a guitar shop, for example. Not that that's a bad thing by any means, but you focused on your career as a working musician, and you've been able to work and tour with him. And that's where I think it comes down to. I think I think some people miss the point with some of this positive thinking stuff is that the doing part of it is actually the real stuff. So have a positive mental outlook, no doubt. You actually need that. But that's only, I don't want to label it, but if I'm talking about my own life now, it's only about 20% of it. The 80% is the doing part of it. Practicing. The practicing and getting information about the right applications and the right microphone to talk to you right now over or through, that sort of thing. That's really interesting, mate. And the final question I have for you, and this does stump people, believe me, is this. What 5 guests, living or dead, would you invite to dinner?
Let me think. Steven Tyler first, because he seems to be such an awesome person. He seems to be so cool. He's, to me, the real definition of a rock star. He is the rock star. And he seems so cool and so nice to hang around. And so Steven Tyler. I guess John Bon Jovi, to ask him advices about business.
Yep, for sure. And, good bloke too, apparently. Yep.
Yeah. Who else? Scarlett Johansson.
Scarlett Johansson, was that?
Yeah, but maybe not for business reasons.
Yes, she's a very fine example of a lady, mate. There's no doubt about that. Yeah,
indeed. And then I think it would be business-related people mostly. Mostly career-oriented decisions.
So some professionally minded people to give you advice on your music career and how to take things off. Yeah, mate, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's an interesting list. Those first 3, mate. Yeah, that'd be some very interesting discussion there. Or you might want to put Scarlett next to your good self rather than next to Stephen, because Stephen's very popular with the ladies, such as his charm. So there you go.
Yeah.
Hey, the final question I've got for you is: Have you got a relationship with the Australian audience or Australian fans?
No, I have an Australian guitar friend, which is awesome, called Paul Wardingham. I don't know if you know him.
No.
He's an amazing player. So if you have a chance, check it out. And it's really great. So
Sweet.
But apart from that, no, not really. Unfortunately, you guys are so far. It's pretty difficult to come and tour to your place for the moment. But no, not yet. But I have so many things I want to do in Australia. So first meet the people, and then shark cage diving and stuff like this. So yeah, I would love to come to Australia.
Yeah, there's definitely no shortage of places to put yourself in danger in Australia. I keep on being reminded of that when I'm talking to people from overseas because I live here. So I live near the beach, so I go to the beach most days. And I know it's about, as I'm talking to you now, it's 12 degrees, but today it was about 20 degrees, and that's cold for us, right? So I wore my half wetsuit today. But at any given time, mate, we forget things like the beach I swim at, which is a really good beach, by the way, very safe. But there's a shark net there, of course, so that the sharks don't come in. But you just live with this stuff in Australia, and
of course, and I think it's amazing. I love the fact that in Australia you still have this big fauna of wonderful animals, and you are probably one of the main nest for great white sharks, and I'm a huge fan of sharks.
Cool.
And so that's why I would love to come. Not only for that, of course, but I love your country. Yeah.
No, fair enough. Yeah, look, I'm a big fan of rugby union, so I do like watching the French rugby team as well because you never know what's going to happen when they turn up. To be honest, they'll beat a team by 30, or they could get beaten by 30 points. It's you're never really sure what's going to happen. Yeah. Well, that's it from me, mate. Are there any final words?
No. Well, thanks so much for the interview, which was pretty it was not something we.
Oh, it's coincidental. Serendipitous is the word I used at the beginning of the call. Yeah.
But that was great. I really liked the question. I had good time, and I hope people will have some good time to listening to it. And I hope I'll have the opportunity to have some beers with you sometime soon in Australia, and to meet the Australian fans.
Yep. No, we definitely feel that way, mate. It'd be awesome if you could bring the band down here for some shows. Hopefully a promoter will get on top of that and do that. So, I have no doubt that given the opportunity, mate, you'd have a significant fan base down here. You've been listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith, and that interview subject was Stéphan Forté from French progressive metal outfit Adagio. Thank you so much for listening.